What's up? It's Jason McLaren with This Show is a Disaster Podcast. Can you believe we're on episode 60? It's been 60 days since we started this podcast as part of the quarantine. And I wanted to do this live, but my dang computer is acting up. So, you're getting a recording, but you should be lucky. It's episode 60. I had a great topic. I was driving home from dinner and was going to talk about it and forgot what it was, so I should have wrote it down. But I want to talk to you today about the 6 steps that K through 12 schools must take to meet the CDC guidelines for reopening. I've been talking to some of my teacher friends and educator friends about what's going on and what they're going to do to reopen. And there's a lot of stuff they got to do. I know the school district that I live in, they're waiting till September to open because they want to see what everybody else does. But this article came out from CampusSafetyMagazine.com. I'm a subscriber to them, obviously, for what I do. But I think some of their stuff holds merit. And the first one is monitoring building access. I think that's something that most schools have been doing for years, especially since the mass shootings. But now it's even more. You don't want people coming in that don't have masks on, that aren't sanitizing before they come in. So you want to make sure that access control is in place. But now we're going to have to step it up. You may want to put in some kind of temperature monitoring system or a thermal imaging system if you get the money. I know there's a lot of grants and funding out there for this kind of stuff. You just got to get your school district leaders in touch with your local emergency preparedness groups, and so that you can put all those dots together and get that funding so that you can be ready for this. It's August 5th right now. We're not very many, a couple weeks away from most schools opening, so they need to start ordering this stuff and getting it in place. I think their other point was number 2, having a unified communication platform. I think this is another thing that most schools do pretty good, and they have a lot of methods for communicating things out. I've done a lot of studies on communication, and especially being a public affairs officer with several agencies. You got to have a unified communication, and you can't just go through one method. So the schools can't say, "Oh, we're just going to send everything out on Facebook," or "We're going to send everything out on our messaging system." They've got to have all that lined out. That's not to say that the communication cannot be just one method, but it needs to be all one platform, right? So you don't want teachers drafting their own messages and then the school administrators drafting another message and posting that on Facebook, and then parents are going to get confused. So you want to make sure that only one person really is pushing that message out. So this is a perfect time to practice Blue Sky Incident Command. You can get your incident command team, whoever's in charge at your school, get them together, set up an incident commander, operations, logistics, all that stuff, and have that public information officer role field so they can push out these messages and everyone's getting the right message and there's no ambiguity on what's going on. So kind of in line with that is solidifying and clearly communicating your sanitation and health safety protocols. So we want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. Okay, are we going to be wearing masks? What kind of mask can they wear? Can it be the fashion mask that just stop coughing, or does it have to be like a rated surgical mask? How are we sanitizing everything? Is there somebody going to come in every night and sanitize, or the teacher's going to sanitize? What's going on? Are we going to be passing out gloves, and who's going to wear gloves? Especially during lunchtime, that sort of thing, where we're putting food in our mouth. What's the game plan? And we need to make sure that's all communicated, all outlined before school starts. Next is optimizing HVAC systems, and this is a big topic that I've been working on lately. It's especially in the healthcare sector. They've tried to go out and just make everything negative pressure, which means that all the rooms suck in the air out of the room, and then it blows it out of the building, so that you're not blowing spread of the virus around. Now, most systems are rated. They've got different filters, and some of them have UV lights to kill things, but that all has to be maintained. So if your school's been on a budget, or your facilities department's been trying to save money, and they're cutting back on that HVAC maintenance, maybe they're doing it every 3 or 4 months rather than every 2 months, whatever. that's one of the things that gets cut. And so you want to make sure that those systems are working properly, and that all the systems are working at all. So, I mean, they may have put some things on the back burner that were broken and that, they didn't think about it at the time, but now with this virus, we need to get that stuff fixed. And so making sure that all that's done, the preventative maintenance is completed when it's needing to be, and any sensors are working as they're supposed to. And a lot of these systems are on building automation, and so they can be monitored remotely. And so you want to make sure that all that's working if it can, and that the systems are working, and the people that are operating them are taking care of them and monitoring those readings effectively, so you don't have several days where the system's not working. So next is creating a written safety plan. This kind of goes back to that incident command model. If you set up your incident command, you set up your team, you're able to write what is effectively an emergency operations plan, and it's can fill this safety plan kind of a part of that. But you want to make sure that you're kind of encompassing all this. What are we doing for disinfecting? What are we doing for social distancing? How are we going to lay out these rooms so that they're safe as possible? You want to make sure all this is written in that plan. Without a plan, you're planning to fail. That's an old saying. So you got to have this plan laid out well beforehand. And I'm sure a lot of the districts are working through this, but it's got to be written down. You can't just have a meeting and say, okay, that's how we're going to do it, and have some notes jotted down. This is a perfect time to practice blue sky incident command. Get a plan, even if you're doing a 7 or 10 day operational period, something like that. Plan out for those 7, 10 days, whatever, and then roll that out. So then they talk about limiting physical distance and sharing. So obviously I've seen pictures around of the school desk placed 6 feet apart, and all that kind of stuff. But the kids are going to move around, right? So we just got to talk to them. Even my 3-year-old daughter knows stay 6 feet away. They're not going to do that. I will go and pick her up from her daycare, and they're out running around on the playground, right next to each other. But no plan's perfect, and you've got to implement any kind of technology and operations that you can to make sure that the students are safe as possible. I know at our child's daycare, they don't let you come in if you have a fever. They check you at the door, that sort of thing. So that's how they're fighting that, and they have had no cases of coronavirus since this whole thing started. Not saying that what they're doing is the only reason, but it could be one thing. So this is a far-reaching incident that nobody could have planned for it, but this is the good time. It's kind of a slow period right now. Even the states like Texas are slowing down as far as their rates. So this is the perfect chance for schools to practice this, get ready, practice some of this incident command, so that when you do have a big incident, tornado, hurricane, active shooter, active threat, you're able to kind of roll out this plan a little bit faster, and you've practiced in these more condensed, slow operational periods. So, well, it kind of went on a long wind today, but I wanted to give you guys some tips on that. So once again, this is Jason McLaren with Jason McLaren & Associates, jasonmclaren.com. Check it out, and I'm signing off for the day.